All right, page 128. The myth has kept its main outlines pretty well despite the inability of later editors to understand the system of matrilinear succession. There was a shrine of the moon goddess Artemis alias Nereis or Thetis at Iolcus, I can't say that word, Iolcus, the chief port of southern Thessaly, with an attached college of 50 priestesses. This Artemis was a patroness of fishermen and sailors. One of the priestesses was chosen every 50th month as a representative of the goddess. Perhaps she was the winner of a race. She took a yearly consort who became the Oak King, or Zeus, of the region and was sacrificed at the close of his term of office. By the time that Archaeans had established the Olympian religion in Thessaly, it is recorded that all the gods and goddesses attended Peleus' marriage to Thetis. The term had been extended to 8 or perhaps 7 years, and a child sacrificed every winter solstice until the term was complete. 7 years instead of the great year of 8 seems to be a blunder of the mythographers, but from the Scottish witch ballad of True Thomas, it appears that 7 years was the normal term for the Queen of Elphame's consort to reign, and the Scottish witch cult had close affinities with primitive Thessalian religion. Achilles, the lucky 7th or perhaps 8th child who was saved because Peleus himself had to die, was apparently one of the centaurs of nearby Pelion with whom the Nereids of Iolcus had ancient exgamic ties, and from whom Peleus would naturally choose his child victims. They would not be his own sons by Thetis. When Achilles grew up, he became king of the Myrmidons of Thyotis, presumably by marriage with the tribal representative of the goddess. He can hardly have inherited the title from Peleus. Myrmidon means ant, so it is likely that the wren-neck, which feeds on ants and nests in willow trees sacred to the goddess, was the local totem bird. Philyra, Chiron's mother, is traditionally associated with the wren-neck. It is established that there was an Achilles cult in Greece before the Trojan War was fought, so the brief but glorious life was probably that of a stay-at-home king with a sacred heel who won immortality at death by becoming an oracular hero. Thetis was credited with the power to change her appearance. She was in fact served by various colleges of priestesses, each with a different totem, beast, or bird: mare, she-bear, crane, fish, wren-neck, and so on. The same myth has been twisted in a variety of ways. In some versions, the emphasis is on the mock marriage, which was an integral part of the coronation. The Argive myth of the 50 Danaans who were married to the 50 sons of Aegipetus and killed all but one of their common wedding night, and the Perso-Egypto-Greek myth of Tobit and Raguel's daughter, whose 7 previous husbands had all been killed by the demon Asmodeus, in Persian Ashmadeva, on their wedding night, are originally identical. The various contradictory versions of the Danid myth help us to understand the ritual from which it originated. Pindar, in his 4th Pythian ode, says that the brides were pardoned, purified by Hermes and Athene, and offered as prizes to the victors of public games. Later authorities, such as Ovid and Horace, say that they were not pardoned, but condemned everlastingly to pour water into a vessel full of holes. Herodotus says that they brought the mysteries of Demeter to Argos and taught them to the Pelagleician women. Others say that 4 of them were worshipped at Argos because they provided the city with water. The real story seems to be that the Danaids were an Argive college of 50 priestesses of the barley goddess Danae, who was interested in giving rain to the crops and was worshipped under 4 different divine titles. Pouring water through a vessel with holes so that it looked like rain was their usual rain-bringing charm. Every 4 years, at the 50th lunar month, a contest was held as to who should become the Hercules, or Zeus, of the next 4 years and the lover of these 50 priestesses. This term was afterwards prolonged to 8 years with the usual yearly sacrifice of a child. Danaan Argos was captured by the sons of Aegipetus, Putus, who invaded the Peloponnese from Syria, and many of the Danaans who resisted them were driven northward out of Greece, as has already been mentioned. In the Book of Tobit, Tobit is the lucky eighth, the new Zeus bridegroom who escapes his fate when the reigning Zeus has to die at the end of his term. Asmodeus is the Persian counterpart of Set, the yearly murderer of Osiris, but he is charmed away with the fish of immortality and flees to his southern deserts. Tobit's dog is a helpful clue. He always accompanied Hercules, Melkarth, or his Persian counterpart I can't say that word, Rasha, or the Greek Asclepius, wherever he went. A typical set of taboos binding the Hercules is this Hercules is quoted by Sir James Frazer in his Golden Bow. They were applied to the Flamen Dallas, the successor of the sacred king of Rome, whose war leadership passed to the twin consuls at the foundation of the Republic. The Flamen Dallas might not ride or even touch a horse, nor see an army under arms, nor wear a ring which was not broken, nor have a knot in any part of his garments. No fire except a sacred one might be taken out of his house. He might not touch wheaten flour or leavened bread. He might not touch or even name a goat, a dog, raw meat, beans, and ivy. He might not walk under a vine. The feet of his bed had to be daubed with mud. His chair could be cut only by a free man and with a bronze knife, and his hair and nails, when cut, had to be buried under a lucky tree. He might not touch a dead body, nor enter a place where one was buried. He might not see work being done on holy days. He might not be uncovered in the open air. If a man in bonds were taken into his house, the captive had to be unbound, and the cords had to be drawn up through a hole in the roof and so let down into the street. Frazer should have added that the Flamen owed his position to a sacred marriage with the Flaminica. Plutarch records in his Roman Questions 50 that he could not divorce her and had to resign his office if she died. In Ireland, this Hercules was named Sen Crugach, Crook, the Lord of the Mound. But after his suppression by a more benignant sacred king, was remembered as Crom Cruach, the bowed one of the mound. In a Christian poem occurring in the 11th century book of Leinster, he is thus described. Here once dwelt a high idol of many fights, the Crom Cruach by name, and depraved every tribe of peace. Without glory in his honor, they would sacrifice their wretched children with much lamentation and danger, pouring their blood around Crom Cruach. Milk and corn they would urgently desire of him in barter for 1/3 of their healthy offspring. Their horror of him was great. To him the noble Gadels would prostrate themselves from the bloody sacrifices offered him. The plain is called the plain of adoration. They did evilly, beat on their palms, thumped their bodies, wailing to the monster who enslaved them, their tears falling in showers. In a rank stand, 12 idols of stone, bitterly to enchant the people, the figure of the Crom was of gold. From the reign of Herman, the noble and graceful, such worshipping of stones there was until the coming of good Patrick of Macha. It is likely enough that this cult was introduced into Ireland in the reign of Herman, the 19th king of all Ireland, the date of whose ascension is traditionally given as 1267 BC, though Dr. Joyce, a reliable modern authority, makes it 1015 BC. Herman, one of the invading Milesians from Spain, became sole monarch of Ireland by his victory over the armies of the north and put his enemies under heavy tribute.